set now for the juvenile fillies to 14 of them across the track. Here's St. on their way. And of the dance on the outside, broke a little sideways with Pro KK, but meanwhile it's going to be stopped. They're running on now, and Somali Lemonade's got 8 to make up. They come to the top of the lane, stop shopping, Maria's done a lot left. Stop shopping, Maria goes on, Sweet Cat is right there, on not to right, Royal Body is running on. Past the 8 ball, they come, stop shopping, Maria for the run, still under a hand right as they come to the 16th. Stephanie's Kitten coming out late, here's Stephanie's Kitten coming fast. Stephanie's Kitten, stop shopping, Maria. Stephanie's Kitten's water. Watch the chances broke smartly, but so did Terra from the Cape. On the inside, Sky Lantern, the grey going well. If he can get through. Sky Lantern, the grey looking for somewhere to run. Wide open. It's Terra from the Cape hanging on. Terra from the Cape tries to go all the way. On the outside now, here comes Flotilla in the light blue. Flotilla is absolutely flying. Watch the chances in there too. But Flotilla has gone right on by. And Flotilla is coming home to score. Flotilla has won it just about 2 in the end. It'll be Watch the Chances, Summer of Fun, coming on to finish third.
From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. The Handicappers Report is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. The new Capital OTB wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with the new Capital OTB wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report, coming to you live from the backstretch of Saratoga Race Course on Traverse Eve on a very pleasant Friday morning. Little breeze in the air. Humidity is not as tough as the last couple days. I think it's supposed to be wonderful tomorrow for the Traverse Stakes, but New York Reds this afternoon on this glorious Friday. I'm joined by my friend and partner, Seth Merrow. Seth, good morning.
I think you're right. I think tomorrow is supposed to be a really good Traverse Day. Earlier in the week, they were kind of saying maybe some rain, but as I watched the news last night, I thought that was going to stay west and north maybe, so that it looked like the weekend actually would be clear, but that lines up for a really nice Traverse Day. Again, this morning the humidity is sticking around. It's not as bad as it has been the last couple of days. But I did a Zoom thing in here at 1 o'clock yesterday with WTEN. And again, we have...
Did you work without your jacket on? Because the boys did in the morning.
Oh, I did, yeah. No, I was not wearing my jacket. Yeah, I was not wearing my jacket. But they have a Traverse special tonight. I think it's at 7:30 on Channel 10 WTEN, so you can check that out also. But I recorded in the tent here. It was like 1,000 degrees yesterday at about 1 o'clock. I was melting. And it was at the end of a busy week as we wind the meet down. I meant maybe getting ready. It was a fun week. Tuesday night, I went over to the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation barbecue at the barn. I think you guys ran a little video I shot over there as well. That was Tuesday night early, and then I kind of cut out. Unfortunately, it cut out early. Went over to the James Taylor Jackson Brown concert, which was a complete throwback to my youth with traffic backed up. I parked at Price Chopper and walked because traffic was at a standstill. The lawn was jammed out over the top ledge. And it was a great show, as I say, kind of a throwback, and that was a lot of fun. And then the last couple of days, been running around and getting some interviews and whatnot. The draw was Wednesday morning. Picked up some conversation with Kenny McPeak and Robertino Diodoro that were run Saturday morning. Yesterday, popped around the backstretch a little bit, sat down with a nice longer interview with Todd Fletcher, and then Todd's barn is pretty close to Chad Brown's barn, so we swung around the corner. I've got a couple of minutes with Chad as well.
Went by this Chad Brown barn? Was that 7 in 2 days?
Oh my goodness, eight in 2 days. It was 3 yesterday, 5 the day before, and I have the latest update after a slow start, which he addresses a little bit, because I asked him about that. And again, we'll have Chad and Todd and Diodoro. Greg Foley will join us live. He's got Wisconsin coming up on Saturday, but Kenny McPeak. So we'll have all of that coming up tomorrow on Racing Across America. But I asked Chad about the big day. But after the slow start, Chad now sits with 30 winners over Mike Maker, who was so hot earlier in the meet. He's at 24, Todd Fletcher at 22. But Chad's just kind of making the run and running away. But speaking of running away, continuing from the hot start to a hot end. Luis Sayez, 53 winners. Second place, Irad Ortiz, 41. Jose Ortiz, 40. 53 to 41 on the jockey side of things for Luis Sayez.
What do you think he could have gotten on Luis in Vegas on July 14th?
Yeah.
And Brian Netto made a good point the other day, and my spreadsheets bear it out, is he's getting into more barns.
Yeah.
The type that you truly like to, from a jockey agent standpoint, which can only bode well. I mean, it's just been an incredible thing to watch. I mean, to have this type of lead over the Ortiz brothers going into the final, really. What is it, 9 days, 6 and 3, 4, 10 days, 10 days of racing, right? Counting today. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9.
Yeah, there's six the last week. Yeah,
three and six.
Yep.
And I will say 2 things, Seth. In the last 48 hours have happened that well, one of them I know has never happened before, and one I don't think has ever happened before. One is on Wednesday evening, as we were celebrating young Anthony's birthday, the first time in my life ever, I was in town during the races. I've never done that my entire life. I told my wife, I said, I always wondered what went on when the racing was going on, and it just had never happened. But our son...
It's funny you say that, because there have been times where for some reason I got to go to the post office or the bank, and I will drive downtown in the middle of the racing day, and my mindset, degenerate, I don't know, my mindset is such that I'm looking around going, why are all these people downtown? There's racing going on.
It's a funny story, because I love so many sports, but people told me at the Texas State Fair, when you want to go is when Texas and Oklahoma are playing the actual game, because you can get around and do a lot for those just about 4 hours. But I was walking around, I have to tell you, Pete, and that's great for Saratoga. It shows, some versatility. There weren't too many people that even looked like they know where the track was located, having fun. But it was our son's day, and I've had many days at the track. But I'm just a regular old Joe walking around. I go, people do this, And, not only that, we're on Union Avenue, and they're doing some work with the boulevards and everything. And I'm like, it's only like 1,500 yards down the road. It's not like it's on the outskirts of town. But and then yesterday, I've been keeping stats, and usually it's about column V, Seth, is the Stallions. And at all racetracks, my interest gets piqued very much when a stallion has 2 consecutive winners. Never at any racetrack, and I should say not counting like state bred type days where there might be a stallion that dominates Maryland or New York. Freud comes to example. Has a stallion won 3 in a row. The closest I had come in at Saratoga was Wild Again, when the first year Shine Again won the ballerina. I think she paid about $45. Wild Again won was sire the 9th, the 10th, and then the second race the next day. So basically, Wild Again won 3 out of 4 on 2 different cards. Union Rags got 3 out of 4 yesterday. The 2-year-old Keep Calm, Carry On who won. I think that's the 5th time we've run juveniles at 9 furlongs in August. 2011, 12, 13.
Somebody asked me that. Somebody actually walked up and asked me and said, "Hey, what's this 1 1/8 for the 2-year-olds?"
Yeah,
and I said, I don't know what the historical is, but you've...
Yes.
So
a couple years ago, going back to 2011, Eddie F's brother and I, that was in the, he's...
who I met the other day.
He's Robbie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a guy that I absolutely explicitly trust. I call him, I'm like, Robbie, this is the first, right? I mean, we've never seen it. He goes, yes. And then they ran it 2 more years, and they took a break and came back in 2019. So that was the 5th one. Albert and Union Rag. So here are the winning stallions of these now 5 juvenile 9 furlong races in August. Tapit, AP, Indy, Tiz Now. Yesterday was Union Rags. So you have 2. Were you out late last night, Seth?
They went by.
They went by fast, too, which is... so Tapit, AP, Indy, so that's 2 Belmont. Tiz Now, and the Fly in the Ointment was the first one we ever ran. Spice Town got a 9 furlong winner. But so Union Rags yesterday, as far as my notes go, to become the first stallion on 1 card to have 3 out of 4 winners. I know Medallion Jarl, when he was real hot a couple years ago, got 3 winners on a card. I think Curlin might have done it. Freud's done it, as I said, kind of take the state breds out of it. But Union Rags, I think, became the first horse ever at Saratoga to have 3 winners in 4 races, and we've talked about this before, and you met some of the family, the Manitoulin people. My brother-in-law that got into Derby Dan. This is going to be funny. He calls me up like a year ago.
Jimmy Toner, right?
Yeah, he has. The next one is a Union Rags. I'm like, oh my goodness. My brother-in-law is going to be one of those few people in the game probably own 2 horses and be in Clover. I mean, Manitoulin was great for him.
Really good.
Won the Hollywood Turf Cup out at Del Mar. I mean, they did great. And now they have a Union Rags who seems to be spurting up. What are your plans for tonight, by the way?
Well, we get the early start tomorrow, so
that doesn't affect you.
I have a backyard barbecue. So
I have to pray.
At home.
The power goes out at your house tomorrow.
I guarantee I'm in for the 8 o'clock.
Should I just stop at the house, like just pick you up? I'll have Paul Matisse wake you up, and I'll just pick you up.
I'm still getting. Oh man, there are a lot of sirens. I hope
everything. And it worried me because this is usually a quiet street. He went by zipping. He wasn't doing. He was flying on Nelson Avenue, which is the horses and everything. But quick note, we'll be on at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Obviously, the early post time, what's it, 11:30, 11:35?
11:30, I think.
11:30. So
and let's emphasize that a bunch of times as the show goes along. So it's 8 for handicapper support tomorrow, 9 for Racing Across America. Today on Racing Across America with New York Showcase Day, I made it kind of a New York-centric show. NYTHA board member, New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, Aaron Yagoda will join us. He's an owner, a pinhooker.
Tell Aaron I said hello. I've known him 30 years.
You will cross paths because he's the first guest.
One?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope he's right.
But he gave a nice intro to Mark Cassie over at the Hall of Fame the other day as well. Naj Thompson, who was a long-time employee over here at NYRA, but end of last year, I think it was, became the executive director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeders. So I thought we'd have him in. I've been saying I'll get you in, and I was kind of aiming for this day. And then in a switch of place, after the show yesterday, our colleague Brian Edo hopped on the plane and went down to Gulfstream. We'll see him in the paddock over the next couple of days. Why? Because Ron Nicoletti's in town, and I always have to have Ron come over and sit in. So we'll have Ron, but also his cousin. When he comes up, he stays with his cousin, Tom Mina, who is a local breeder. And I thought, well, that ties in well, too. So, boom, we'll have both
now,
of them
I don't want to
as
produce
well
your show
today.
For you, but what's the lead into all of it?
What's the lead-in?
Like his whole New York bred thing. Because I can tell you kicked the can here. You blew it.
I don't know.
40th anniversary of Fiorito winning the Whitney. That's not going to be the lead-in for the crescendo or the exit or something. 40 years ago, Fiorito, the New York bred.
That was one of the most memorable races that I've ever been here. Well, maybe one of the most memorable races here, period, where Fiorito from the Finger Lakes breaks through the gate and wins the Whitney.
And with two
With
things
Les Hewlett on board.
Yes, and the assistant starter became like a god amongst his.
Oh, because
he just held on to him. And Winter's tail was in that race, and he went to the front, never looked back. And I tell this, and it surprises people. I told you the other day on set, it surprised you. That was the first time the Whitney was a grade 1. Alyadar won it, was a grade 2. Interesting fact today is we run the West Point. I like to bring this up every year. You know what the genesis of the West Point is, don't you?
Well,
When in 1980 in the DeWitt Clinton Stakes, George Cassidy, the starter, released the field before everybody was loaded. There was a couple horses behind the gate,
and so they had
they ran the race. Quintessential won it with Frank Lovato Jr. and they basically brought the race back 2 weeks later and called it the West Point. Now the funny thing is, Quintessential won again with Frank Lovato. You want a great trivia question? Because I'm giving you the answer. That made Quintessential and Frank Lovato Jr. the first jockey and horse to win two, this is going to blow your mind, two $100,000 races at Saratoga in one meet. A New York bred, Quintessential. Yep, and that's the genesis of the West Point handicap.
I do. Once you started, I remember that. Yeah.
I was going into my senior year of high school, and those days, Seth and I remember there was a flag man out here. Remember that to start the teletimer? Oh, people would think we grew up in the Middle Ages. But
well, the one of that I've talked about a couple of times at this meet to people, the throwback that I remember from the early days of coming, the scratch board. Where they come out, put the scratches.
Yeah, but the scratch board,
the
scratch board, the scratch board pole out there, they still did. But we were talking with Brian the other day about the whiteboard over here when the guy would come down if it made a 2-year-old race with a significant, like maybe the morning line favorite scratch, he'd come down and adjust the thing, and all the scratches were there. But that lasted until like 5 years ago. The flagman's been gone 30 plus years, but Quintessential, and that was the DeWitt Clinton Stakes, who I think was a race won by Champagne for Ashley. But that's why we have the West Point handicap and Quintessential. So if you want to win free drinks, was the first horse to ever win two $100,000 races at Saratoga. And now, Seth, we have allowance races for $100,000.
Yeah, absolutely crazy to look at some of the purses these days. Allowance and maiden special weight races.
Do you have anything before we start rolling here?
I will toss out one more thing, because I kind of went over tomorrow's lineup, and again, it'll be early for Racing Across America. But again, we taped some stuff with Todd Fletcher, Chad Brown, Robertina Diodoro, Kenny McPeak, Greg Foley will be sitting in live. So a lot of Travers card conversation tomorrow on Racing Across America. And I just want to alert you that there is, I wrote down this sequence here. There's a 2-day pick 4. Keep that in mind. It's going to be a special spot on your weight. You can't pull up the Saratoga and wager through. There'll be a special code when you pull up your Capital OTB bet. But there's a $2 2-day pick 4. Today it is the Race 9 Albany, the Race 10 Yaddo. Tomorrow it's the Personal Ensign and the Travers. A 2-day, $2 pick 4.
Boy-girl race each day.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that's it for me.
Sure. Take a moment, gather yourself. There's a lot of stuff going on over there.
There is a lot of stuff. There's no question about it.
You got that Steve Bick formula with the clips and the raise. How many days of work you got there? 4, 3? At least
4.
3.
I have
4.
4.
Oh my, good for you. There you go, Batty. All right, today it looks like
people,
it's gonna.
And I will say that people walk up to me sometimes, and if I have the PPs, I'm good to go. But a lot of times most of the time I'm trying to make sure, because of this, they carry the PPs with me. But sometimes people walk up and I don't have the PPs, and they're like, "Hey, who do you like today?" And I'm like, "I've got 4 days of stuff going on." Although I will say on Wednesday, all day long, and I just never know if people write it down because it was also the last race of the day. I liked Unicorn Sally. I had the horse down in the mix, but everybody who asked me during the day at 10-1, I said that's one to take a look at, and eventually went off and paid $30. I
Yes.
talked about it on Pick's radio show on Wednesday too. So that one, hopefully people were listening a little bit and played it because it was my best score of the meet by far.
And we were saying, because I know last week with the inclement weather, favorites won at 53%. I brought it up, the fans just knocking it out of the park. Opener today on what is about 4 years now? 4 or 5 years, has kind of become, they used to run the personal ensign on Friday, but it's kind of become New York Breeders' Day, maybe 5 years now.
It has been for a while.
A great idea. So we have New York State bred, 2-year-old maiden special weights, 5.5 on the melon. You saw what's become normal. They took the rails down, and you had the Claimer 32 run one of the 10 fastest 5.5s, which, by the way, no favorite has won one of the 10 fastest 5.5 furlong turf sprints. Favorites 0 for 10 in those.
That's interesting. I have it in the opener, 8, 10, 4, and 5. I'm going to take a little pop with Miracle Nikki by Tapiture. Tapiture so far this year, 68 first-time starters. These numbers are crazy. 10 wins, 15 seconds, 10 thirds. So 25 exacta finishes out of 68 first-time starters for Tapiture. You know, for a New York bred, you spend $110,000. That's a pretty good price. Worked 10.2 before the sale. Dan produced a sibling called Diamond and Simon, won in the third career start. So I thought there was win early breeding, top and bottom, steady string of workouts. Some of them are fairly decent. The 10.2 before the auction was okay. So at 6-1, I ride Ortiz on board. I'll go with Miracle Nikki. Open till midnight. Worked 10.3 before that same April Ocala sale. Dan produced a sibling called Out First that was fourth in debut, won the second career start. This one I thought looked okay in the debut, ran third, had a little trouble there, but again, a decent third. They had the blinkers today. I'm not thrilled with the outside post position necessarily, but maybe that'll be a bonus if we get a good break and can kind of be the outside controlling speed in a sprint race. Surprise Boss. Another Ocala sale graduate, this one from the March sale, has started a number of times already, has shown some early speed, and the number improved nicely last time. That says maybe that speed will be more potent in career start number 5. Sandrone with Louis Sayez on board for Jim Bond. As we mentioned with the numbers at the top, I just think that for me now, the past couple of weeks, my handicapping almost starts with seeing where Louis Sayez is and making sure I have him somewhere in the mix. So I wasn't going to ignore that one, but I have it 8, 10, 4, and 5.
And I think Anthony Seville through the years in his position on horses likes to mention the first trainer he sees on a given day coming to the track. Well, Jimmy Bond, who it's sort of an unfair stat because we're most apt to see Jimmy Bond first, and today was another day. We probably see Jimmy Bond first over 50% of the time. Main body has 10 in here, 11 is MTO, 7 of the 10 are firsters. I put the veteran on the group, number 4, Surprise Boss, on top. I mean, I'm guessing really with the firsters, and I only picked one of them. And you know, this horse has been competitive in 4 starts. It's hit the board in 3 of them, and now is going to try turf for the first time. They tried to get onto it in the second career start. So today, the War Dancer I think it's a good bet to say in about less than 4 hours we'll get it. I would have put this horse on first, but David Donk, who we love, he's 3% with firsters, and it's a sample size of 39. And even with that, if this horse was at 9-2 on the morning line, I might have even reached a little higher. But for a gentleman who has not shown winning with firsters, I'm not going to chase 9-2 with number 3, Devil or Angel. But I will be interested to see how the wagering goes for this offspring of Shackelford. 4/3 on the outside of the starting gate is the number 10. Open till midnight. Jimmy Ryerson's horse, very nice on debut, adds blinkers today. So 4, 3, 10 in the opener.
And you mentioned seeing Jimmy Bond. For folks who don't know, we're located right by the backstretch gate. He has a private barn literally right down the street from us on Gridley. And so as he brings horses back and forth, he and his wife Tina and his sons, they're zipping by in a golf cart all morning long.
Golf cart, he's royal blue. And so
we're waving
so we're apt to see Jimmy Bond first almost every day.
Second race at Saratoga on this Friday, New York Showcase Day afternoon. It is the Seeking the Ante, a purse of $200,000 for 2-year-old New York bred fillies going 6.5.
I don't know. I thought, you know, you had the 4. I'm sure. Yeah. See, there's 4 horses in here, and the 4 and the 5 seem to be long shots on the board here. They're both 30-1 on the morning line, and
I'm going to be interested to see where the betting public goes. So the morning line tilts toward Wesley Ward. I'm not sure. The Kelly Breen horse, to me, off the last race, is a little more interesting. That said,
I thought so.
I mean, the Wesley Ward runner is 2 for 2 with a stakes win, so it's Wesley Ward. That may be enough to pull the betting public more in that direction.
It could be, you know, coming out of the nice debut early in the juvenile season. But November Rain, who did it up here rather easily by 5.5 in the second career start, now takes on Stakes Company with Jose Ortiz back inside. And I thought, as I looked at this race now, the problem here for me, looking at the race setup, for example, the often when horses break their maidens, and there's not many races on this card, you know, they make the front, they control the race, and they win. So I don't know what type of pace we're gonna. Is the 2 gonna press the 1? I don't know. But I thought November Rain, it being outside of those 2, will have a slight advantage in the trip, and this is 6.5 furlongs, and that's a big difference between 5.5. The 1 hasn't stepped beyond 5. I did take Wesley Ward in the second position. Won the Colleen Stakes, which, if you watch the series down, and you know how our matron in New York and Futurity have become turf sprints with the changing of the game. The Colleen used to be the local prep for the sorority. It's now a turf sprint down there for third, number 6. Velvet Sister for Steve Asmussen. Impressive winner on debut, not to be found in the Schuylerville, which the winner, Pretty Birdie, Mary Lou's horse, went to the front and controlled it. So 3-1-6. I agree with you, Seth. I think if I had to wager, nickel, I think they will flip-flop them. I think November Rain will be the chalk.
As I say, though, coming out of the Open Stakes win, that may be enough to tilt people in that direction. But it was a turf race. So did the horse improve with the switch to the turf?
And it was 5, and now you're going 6.5. That I actually would constitute that as a big leap for a juvenile. 5 to 6.5 is sizable.
6.5 and 7 is starting to get to be quirky distances, and so I'm using November Rain on top off of the maiden breaker here on this track. But as I said, Miss Alacrity certainly the danger off the scenario. I put Miss Legacy in the 3rd spot. The Jeremiah Engelhardt horse looked really good in the career debut, won off by almost 8 lengths, but it was over a sloppy track. We'll have to prove it today over a dry surface, but that was a pretty good looking debut. So for me, 3, 1, 2, and 6.
And continue with the shape red theme. Maiden special weights, 3-year-olds end up 1.16 on the inner.
I went 7, 3, 4, and 5. I thought the 9 was a little bit interesting as well, but I put Barrage on top, the Danny Gargan trainee. Just the numbers this one fires are maybe giving this horse a slight edge, and then you toss Luis Sayez into the mix, and I thought there was enough there to pull me in that direction. So Barrage on top. But at 10-1 on the morning line, Mr. Connecticut is very interesting to me. This year's first out stats for the sire, Lemon Drop Kid, 26 first-time starters so far this year. 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. So 6 in the money out of 26. All but one of those were 3-year-olds or older. So there was 1 2-year-old in the mix, but the others were all at least 3 years old. This one's 3 years old. It may just kind of indicate that these horses maybe need a little more maturity before they make it to the racetrack, and that may be the case with this one. The dam produced a sibling called Winner's Laugh that won 2 of the first 3 starts of the career. So I thought this one, as I say, at a little bit of a 10-1 price there. I'll play around with Mr. Connecticut, and then Sandro the Great in the 3rd spot. Plenty of opportunity, hasn't gotten it done, but I thought the last couple, particularly the last one, second start of the season, now making this obviously the 3rd start of the season and moving in the right direction of the first 2. Sandro the Great may be primed in here for a better effort. 7, 3, 4, and 5.
And for those who probably play names, Mr. Connecticut might be the... You see the connection, right?
Mr. Connecticut. I don't see the connection. Mr. Connecticut.
Okay. I'll get back to that. You don't?
No.
You are, man, you have everything under your thumb over here.
Mr. Connecticut.
Who's the trainer's daughter-in-law?
Oh, I was not. That's a leap, though. That to me is a little bit of a leap. But yeah, okay. Yeah.
2, 7, and 6. I think it's the best one of the meet.
Well, now that you've said it, it becomes interesting. But you think that is really why they did that? Now I'm gonna have to dig.
You know, it has to be a good horse. It's like Frankel. Judd Mott waited to name a horse after Bobby Frankel that they knew could run, and it worked out. 2, 7, and 6 for me. Lyndon Rice's runner, I thought, was sharp on turf debut in the second career start at 14-1. Draws well inside for Barry Schwartz. For second, number 7, making the fourth career start. Comes out of the Stallion series, and it gets kind of confusing if you don't follow the game, but the Stallion series is different than the State Bred series, although it's 80% overlap. I mean, there's a lot of, and those are good turf races. I thought that was a great idea a couple years ago when they moved them to turf races for the horses. And for third, number 6, Big Castle. He's a big price in here, but I don't know. I just was thinking at a mile and a 16th, maybe a small piece with Tyler Gaffleone. By the way, good call by you putting him in your crosshairs at the beginning of the meet. 2, 7, and 6 in the third.
All right, we're gonna do.
I think everybody's gotten lost in the Luis Sayez thing.
Yeah,
and I know the Ortiz brothers are big, but Tyler Gaffleone and Ricardo Santana Jr. have had outstanding meets when you put it in the context of following it every day, what's going on, the barns they're in, the fact that the Ortiz brothers are here.
They're out of towners, so it's tougher for those guys to be.
And it's quite an accomplishment to achieve what they've achieved with the Ortiz brothers here, and then the new fly in the ointment, Luis Sayez with Kieran McLaughlin, going through the roof. They've been lost in the wake of it, but they shouldn't be lost in the wake of it, which is why I'm babbling.
Yeah, one more before we break. It is the funny side. How long before Saratoga gets a Tis the Law stake named for him? But the funny
I was
side.
thinking about this just the other day quickly, that stable, which I think in the view of all stables would be called small, little, which is not a negative. But they have won the 4 biggest 3-year-old races in America. And Godolphin hasn't.
And they did it with 2 New York breds.
I mean, good for them, but for people who play odds as we do, it's just amazing that in 2 runners, each one bagged 2, and they've won the 4, I think it's fair to say, premier 3-year-old races in America with 2 New York breds.
And if there was any kind of silver linings of the pandemic, you have to search to find them. But one of the fun things we did was do our remote for Pinellas over here at Belmont Day. And the whole Saratoga crowd was over there. It was really a fun afternoon.
Just amazing. When I think about it regularly, I'm like, little guys, and you won the 4 of the biggest races in America that don't have Breeders' Cup affixed to it.
Absolutely. And funny side being one of those $200,000 up for grabs. These are 2-year-olds. They will go 6.5.
And to tie this in, what's funny is a couple years ago when Tis the Law broke his maiden, he broke it at a 6.5 furlong New York bred race, and I happened to be talking with the owner of the runner-up that day, and I said, you got beat by a killer, you know. But when I said to him, I said, you know, it's odd. I don't think I could ever remember a 6.5 furlong New York bred maiden special weight race. They just don't run it that distance. And Tis Law was green. It was all over the place and everything. But funny side, he had a nice 2-year-old season, right? If I remember correctly, he was in the Sleepy Hollow and those races and everything. I think he had a nice New York bred 2-year-old season, obviously.
What was the race where Tom Durkin, and I'm not criticizing Tom because I think he was saying what everybody was saying. It was down at Belmont. Was it Jockey Club? Where he was kind of like, funny side is losing ground there. And then they turn for home, and all of a sudden he gets going again and gets up for the win.
I don't remember
but Tom Durkin commented, and he just commented what everybody was kind of he's done.
Oh.
And then he came back, and I'm going to say Jockey Club probably, but now I got to look it up.
All right. When he won the Jockey Club and beat Newfoundland?
I don't remember who else was in there, but I'll look it up during the break. But like I say, on the turn, you're like, he's done.
Yeah,
and then boom, he gets going again.
Which is rare in our sport. 258, Happy B. Robertino Diodoro, who really made this meet quite good for yours truly. David Cohen gets the mount. A very nice debut at nearly 7-1. Is a maiden, but that's, it's like that Stallion series also. There used to be like a lot of maidens ran in them. I'm not worried about that at all. I love the debut. Matter of fact, I would go so far to say, Seth, I don't know that if this Offspring of Honor Code runs that race back, could find the winner's circle. I don't know that Happy Beat has to run better. Maybe a length or two better would be nice, but boy, on debut, I love that effort. Did get run over by Key Point for second. Number 5, Montebello, going out for Bob Baffert. See, Bob Baffert has a couple horses in over the next couple days. Debuted at Del Mar as the chalk, made every pole a winning one. Gets John Velasquez today for third, number 8. Jeremiah Engelhardt's nice winner on debut that we also had at $26, $258.
Yeah, I like Diffusky or Dusky Island off the debut effort. It was good looking, won by 5 lengths. It was a price, but the number is certainly legitimate and fits with this group. Gets the outside post position. I'll put that one on top. Then Montebello. Anytime, you get Baffert coming in from the West Coast with a New York bred off a debut victory. Now, I think the head margin might scare people away a little bit, but this is the danger certainly in here. And then Senbai, the number 1 horse, Christophe Clement runner that won the career debut. They paid over $250,000 for this horse. And for a New York bred, that's significant money. Lived up to it in the debut. It was over a muddy track, however, so has to validate that on a dry track. But you'd have to think this horse has some real talent. So 8, 5, 1, and 2.
You mentioned that, and I was trying to think. I'm sure there have been a couple that have been through the roof, but how about Montebello? $400,000 for a New York bred. That has to be 95th percentile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's been 1 or 2 that just had unique breeding that went for maybe 675, maybe even $1 million or something. But boy, you get to 400,000, you have wiped out much. Yeah. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more live on Travers Eve.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Handicapper Sport alongside Seth Merrow and Anthony Mormino. Stopping isn't good, is it?
Yeah, we just pulled up the 204 Jockey Club, and Tom Turkin says, funny side is stopping on the turn, but
well, just pausing for a sandwich.
He then hits the gas pedal again and wins, so it was a nice win by funny side, certainly.
5th race on the card for State Bred Filly Mares, maiden special weights, dashing 5.5 on the melon.
2, 3, 7, and 5 for me. I put Sinfully Sweet on top. Twirling Candy. Again, really kind of gaudy first out stats. 58 first-time starters this year, 12 wins, 9 seconds, 3/3. A couple of win early siblings from the Dan. One Rai or Riri won the first 2 starts of that one's career. Another sibling, Journey Home, won the first 2 of its career, including a stakes race. So I think there's some really good breeding, some decent little workouts, starting if you go back to May, there's actually a March and an April workout here, but in May at Cassie's center down south, but has been up here in Saratoga pretty much the most of the meet. And again, you have intent when you show up at these baby races on the big weekend like this. So I say baby races are the 3-year-old, but it's a first-time starter. So, it's the same. You're aiming to make
I
an
believe
impression.
it. I mean, it's probably the closest thing of voodoo or something that I talk about, that I look towards the bigger barns who, they're salespeople and they need clients, and more eyes are usually on Saturday than others, and I believe in it. And last Saturday when I mentioned it, Todd Fletcher down the road with a firster.
Mr. Prankster,
yeah, pretty nicely too. I think that was a good group.
And again, so 3-year-old, but a first-time starter. You look at the horses with experience in here, and there are no world beaters. So I'll tilt in that direction. Second slot, No Pain. I think the numbers this horse fires match up really nicely with this group, as do the numbers for Comset, the number 7 horse. Again, they're horses with a little bit of experience, but in this particular field, I think what we've seen from them so far puts them in the mix. Mike Deeney has escaped with friends. The first 2 starts were okay compared to this bunch. I didn't use that one. Picks it up off the claim, though, for owner Mike Deeney as well. I didn't use that, but that horse a little bit intriguing to me. But I went 2, 3, 7, and 5.
I just touch on the 4 here. I have simply. I think Tracy Farmer had. They don't keep stats for the owners here to be too complex, but I think he had a impressive debut winner, because I thought I remember commenting that it was probably a race I think we had 6 covered, and Tracy Farmer was not one of the 6 and was down the road. But Exact Change is the horse I want to talk about. I have the 2 and the 7 with Seth, but Exact Change, the runner was 66-1 on debut, and in 5.5 furlong turf sprints, there's just not a lot of time to recover, and I just want to give this horse a chance. The offspring of Central Bank, I think, is a very useful son of Spicetown as a stallion in his own right. Not going to get anywhere north of 50-1 now, and could maybe just replicate that type of race with a clean break, still, back in the pack and come running, but not threatened. But I want to take a chance in this race. I have Sinfully Sweet in here and the 7 adding blinkers, but I wanted to take a flyer here on Exact Change, who won't be near 66-1, but I do think will be double-digit odds, 4-7-2.
Yeah, you got a price on that one for sure. 6 races this afternoon. Top of my page, I have Evenly Matched. This was the one that was hard for me to parse out. Yeah. This is a state bred allowance. Non-winners are 1 other than 7 furlongs is the distance.
I agree with your sentiment. I hope we don't have the same try, because it is wide open. There we are. 6 different ones. There you go. That's good television. We don't discuss beforehand, but we have 6 different horses, and I'm not so sure we have the board covered for you, but 4, 7, and 8 for me. Charlie Baker sends out number 4 with Jose Ortiz aboard for the first time. Comes out of 2 turf races, which I don't think went too well. And they get back to the dirt for the first time since, I think, the first day of spring. But cuts back to 7 furlongs. I'm throwing out the turf tries, maybe just foundation. Maybe they just wanted to find out, but it's an offspring of McLean's Music, who I think dirting might be better. Number 7, I'm Fine. Jeremiah Englehart's runner, beaten favorite on what I think was the second day of spring, March 21st, and for third, number 8, Buston Bay. Carl Broberg hasn't run a lot of horses here. Matter of fact, I think he took the first 4 weeks off before he got into town, but had a winner the other day. But 4, 7, 8, if you don't follow racing nationally, I mean, he hasn't yet done it on big type of races. He's probably a claiming trainer, and he's very good at it.
Yeah, he's one of the high percentage guys, certainly. It's always tough to come to New York and keep those numbers up. And yeah, he had tweeted out early in the meet. I think it sounded like it was his first visit ever to Saratoga. He was kind of like Mecca. I don't remember how he put it, but it was clearly he was impressed to come and enjoy, as I think many horse racing people and fans are. But I have a 3, 5, 6, and 8. Jamaica Joy on top, like your top pick. I think the turf return to dirt move is going to be the key here. First 2 starts of the career clearly match up with this bunch. The last 2, not so much. But I'm going to go a little turf to dirt move, a little cutback to a sprint to get this one, to get the wake-up call again. Louis Sayez jumps back on board. Coming in for Finger Lakes, my girl Annie, I think, can be a player. Numbers have been moving in the right direction the last few. These Finger Lakes shippers often get overlooked, but every year we have Finger Lakes horses come in and do surprisingly well, best their odds. I think this could be one of them at this meet. And OK Honey in the third slot, another one over the past couple of starts, including the last up here at Saratoga, move forward a little bit in the buyer category that I think could have this one primed for a decent effort. But as I say, I could say very similar things about your horses and a couple more in here. I think this one's up in the air. So tepidly, I jump in 3, 5, 6,
and
8.
These are the types of races that, for me, I mean, I'd be willing to pick up the lunch check for 3 or 4 horizontal players and just sit around them. And how do you get through this leg?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not practical for most. Brian, you can't take 8 of them, and how you feel confident going on with those types of races. On to the 7th, the Fleet Indian, a 1.8 fillies and 3-year-old fillies. I think Fleet Indian is in that group of incredible winning margin performances at Saratoga.
That might be what.
And sadly, she's also another trivia thing that I think the only time in the history of the Breeders' Cup that the first 2 choices in a race did not finish the race. The distaff, I think, with Pine Island that year with her. But boy, what a career she ended up having. Once she won like 8 in a row or something, I mean, she got so good for them. And here's her race.
Was that a Fletcher horse? Fleet Indian?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think the owner was Sarah, Saylor.
Paul?
I think.
Paul
Yeah.
Saylor? Yeah.
It's going back a long. That's like what, 15, 16 years ago.
I wouldn't have said it's that long, but people throw stuff out all the time where I'm like, oh, that was 5 years ago, and they'll be like, no,
I was thinking
years.
like maybe 06 Breeders' Cup. I don't know. It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago, though.
I have it 9, 8, 1, 5. I will put
agree,
Make
yeah.
Mischief on top, and doing a little research for Racing Across America, where I have a lot of New York-centric guests on. Make Mischief, I believe, bred right up here in Greenfield, and winds up being a nice little open company performer, but gets back in against the State Breds this afternoon after a little bit of a disappointment behind the really talented Bella Sophia in the test. So I'm going to put her on top with the move back into her own company today. Coffee Bar in the second spot. Relatively lightly raced for Todd Fletcher. Comes off a little bit of an early season break to now put the third of starts together. And the first couple off the break were nice little improving efforts. Adds to blinkers today. And then Betsy Blue in the third slot. I thought the race last time on the move up here to Saratoga, well, as I put in a few starts at Saratoga, but on the move up to Saratoga, which produced those nice progressing buyer figures. And again, the last one was the one that jumps out a little bit. I thought Betsy Blue had to be included as well. I have it 9, 8, 1, and 5.
Two things I'll Make Mischief for me, who I have in second, who I think is going to be a strong opinion on this card for many people is, you see races like the Test, the Mother Goose, the Acorn, and the 8 Bells. Those are the last 4 races. Those typically are some of the best 3-year-old filly races in the land. Along with obviously the Kentucky Oaks and the Alabama, but those are one-turn races, and I'm going to be interested, Seth, at the end of the year, overall, what we think, particularly of the 8 Bells and the Mother Goose, what we think of them going forward. The Acorn, I think, will be all right, although obligatory was not good at all the other day in the test. So, but the other thing for me is you look at those races. Seth, even the Mother Goose, they're all one-turn races, and I think the only two-turn race on dirt for this filly is, the Santa Anita Prep for the Breeders' Cup, the old oak leaf, the Chandelier. Now, I'm not going to try. That was a long time ago, and so I just can't make Mischief going 9 furlongs that much. I don't say this maybe once a decade. I would say this. She might win on class alone.
I was going to say the argument may be.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the generation before me. I was a nuts and bolts number guy, pace, velocity, things like that. So when guys say she went on class alone, I'm like, well, what does that mean? That was just like this ether type of thought, but it would be applicable here, and I've used it for the decade now. And so I took Coffee Bar, who clearly has to run much faster than she's ever run before, adding blinkers. I want to get higher than 5-1. Make Mischief. I'm not going to say it's the horse to beat here because I have questions, and I was surprised. Into Mischief actually hasn't sired as many winners as I had thought at this meet. The other day, he was only up to 9, and I carried the water for Into Mischief. And for third, number 6, You Guys Are No Fun for Jeremiah Engelhardt, shipping in 2 races back, won by a pole, going 2 turns. I'm interested in how the people bet, and I'm very interested in how the races run. Make Mischief might just be good enough that she might not be terrific going 2 turns, but she'd be good enough for the Fleet Indian today.
Dog racing, greyhound racing played into my thoughts on class, because it's all class when you go to the greyhound track. There's the A level, the B level, the C level, and I would go.
I'll give you one guess. The only time I've ever seen dog racing. Where was I?
Well, Florida jumps out, obviously.
That's a bad guess because obviously it's got to be Dopey. 30 years ago this past June, Green Mountain.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even thinking Green.
I know you didn't.
But
so class is important at dog racing?
You look at a horse, if they don't win at the next level, they automatically get moved down. And so there'll be a horse or a dog that just is getting beaten at the B level, moves down to the C level, and you look at the horse, you look at the dog, and it's just horrible form. And then they run away and
are you doing like
hide.
Overnight podcasts on greyhound racing that I'm not aware of?
But that is literally where I started to kind of plug into class counts, and I think Make Mischief maybe does have a little bit of a class edge.
No, she has it. There's no doubt. She has about as big a class edge as you can have in Naira racing. I mean, she's running 4 Titanic races, and now she drops in the state breds. That's hard to imagine a bigger class edge.
One more?
Yes.
8th race this afternoon is the aforementioned West Point. $150,000 up for grabs as 3-year-olds and up will travel 8.5 furlongs on the turf.
Just to see if we have many covered here. I'm 8-2-3. I thought this was a wide open race. You didn't have any. No. Yes, we only double up on Rinaldi, which. I'm not surprised you put on top, and now this is the case where Rinaldi, I think, is the horse to beat. You come out of the Forbidden Apple, this is, you're definitely the horse to beat. And people might forget, he was the betting favorite. He was not, I want to say the morning line, he might have been 3rd choice or such. So that was a good job by people. I had Rinaldi that day.
Morning line favorite, surprisingly, I thought.
And went to the front. Jimmy Bond got off to a really good start at this meet. Had a great year last year. Good start. Luis Sayez, we didn't know it at the time. I think that was his 6th win of the meet, either 5th or 6th in the first 2 days. He had 3 and 3 and then 0, and it obviously foreshadowed what we've been experiencing. In my opinion, here, Rinaldi on multiple fronts. What is?
I got a comment. With the memory of the races and whatnot, I'm always amazed, and you hit it. But to be able to look at the date and know how many wins Sayez had that day, I will give you credit.
That's very nice. I don't know why you're laughing so hard.
It's amazing to me. It's like, oh my God! It's like 2 days in. I had 6 wins by that.
Thank you. That's very nice of you, actually. And in this case, on multiple fronts, he's the horse to beat. There's no doubt. And I would almost say, Seth, I would, and people laugh at me, I would almost find 7-5 attractive on him. I think he's 4-5 in here, so 7-5 is ready. He's the horse to beat. The Forbidden Apple is open company race. Good effort going the mile. I took Mo Ready on the outside, looking for the upset, the third start of the year. Big improvement on the 9 furlongs, shortens up. We're on the outside. Todd Fletcher has gone to Flavien Prat when Flavien has been available in here. And if you don't watch racing in Southern California, he is an outstanding rider. 27% in that colony. Rinaldi's the horse to beat. Seth has him on top. I have him for second, 4 for 5 at Saratoga. Lifetime wins the Forbidden Apple. And for third, number 3, graded on a curve for Chad Brown, who is whatever is one step beyond white hot. That's where Chad Brown is. 8-2-3 in a terrific renewal of the West Point.
Yeah, and having handicapped this a couple of days ago, maybe I should have moved up graded on a curve. But I have a 2-1-6-7 graded on the curve, just missed. But Rinaldi won this race last year, comes out of a win against Open Company in stakes race last time here at Saratoga. Put him on top. Therapist comes out of Open Company as well, and may be interesting moving back in with this type. Ran third in this race last year in Sanctuary City, also coming out of the Open Stakes races, and might be interesting moving back into State Bred Company. 2-1-6-7.
And Rinaldi might never have as easy a pace as he's getting today. He has so many things going for him. You know what I'm thinking?
Well, last year he gets the 6 furlongs in 1:13.
Yeah, he's gonna do whatever he wants. Rails are up on the end. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more live from the backstretch of Saratoga.
Welcome to the West. I'm Scott Varley at Saratoga's latest and greatest high-rise luxury condo. Starting in the mid-5s, every condo here has 2 bedrooms and 2 baths and upgrades just like this. Check out these oversized private balconies. We also have a gym, a private lounge, and get this, a heated parking garage. To make a reservation for your private condo at the West, call or text me. I'm Scott Varley at 518-281-6808.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to race number 9, State Breds, the Albany 3-year-olds going 9 furlongs on the dirt.
2, 5, 6, and 1. I put American Revolution on top. I'm going to be interested to see where the betting public goes with this one versus Bobby Joe, and then I'll be interested to see what they do on the track. But boy, on the New York Derby was just kind of a breakout performance for the Fletcher runner, American Revolution. The last 2 starts, 2 wins. Improving numbers over these first 3 starts, but as I say, stretched to 2 turns and just blasted the group. Luis Sayez sticks on board. I'll go there, but Bobby Joe coming in from Southern California for Baffert, I think could be very interesting, coming to New York, trying State Breds. Anna Joe in the 3rd spot for Jack Sisterton. Another one, stretched out last time and seemed to really improve with the stretch out. I wouldn't ignore this one at 6-1. Maybe play around in there a little bit, but 2, 5, 6, and 1 for me.
If my math is right then, Seth, so the New York Derby was run on a Monday?
Yes.
And Luis Sayez went out of town and got the money. That might have told what a weekend he had. I must confess, probably because you get so swamped here, I should be paying attention to the New York Derby, but it used to be before we opened here and everything has changed, but we ran it on a Monday and they won by a pole, and CHC, that's the China horse club now. They rotate the silk, so it'll be Windstars. The race goes through him. I have him for second because I'm looking to beat him. My horse has to step up in a big way. Number 7, Joey Loose Lips. I just thought this was a horse who 2 turns is going to be good, and almost won, at 8-1, making the 2-turn debut. I'm hoping that's the foundation here, but still, even with that said, Joey Loose Lips has to run faster. American Revolution is, for me, clearly the horse to beat. Purple Hearted was another bomb I have in here, coming out of the runaway win in the New York Derby for American Revolution. But I'm taking a big flyer on number 7 in the Albany.
And New York Derby Lobster for Eddie F. ran 3rd that day. So the 10th, and winding up the stakes action this afternoon on New York Showcase Day, it's the Otto. These are the ladies going 1 1/16 on the grass for a purse of $150,000.
Mellon Turf Course, the rails are down. Classic Lady, I think, gets a big push with that. Not in my mix, but should have been, because that's a thing. I think that's a big thing. That's why I pay attention to the rails and make markings. But I am 8-6-3 taking a flyer in here for Tom Bush, Javier Castellano. Be the 4th start of the year, and the comeback won, but then has steadily improved and is in a very good spot, I think, here. The problem will be on the outside. We're going to have to get over and cut out a trip. I think I have just the jock to do it. For number 6, Chocolate Cookie is second. Todd Fletcher's runner, making the 3rd start of the year. Is at the board in both of them. Now tries Stakes Company for the first time. It's an offspring of Declaration of War. And for 3rd, the favorite, Jorge Abreu's number 3, My Heart Belongs to Daddy, an offspring of Scat Daddy, a rough effort in the Eatontown. Throw that out, the good speed you get over with Jose Lascano. The 2-3 to me are going to be tough in here. 8-6-3.
Yeah, I'm hoping you can just draw a line through that Eatontown.
Yeah.
My Heart Belongs to Daddy won this race last year. We'll hope for the same again. Classic Lady, I think, is going to benefit from the first start of the season. You go back to the starts up here at Saratoga last year. Those fit squarely in with this group. And again, I think we'll get some fitness out of that debut down at Monmouth at the end of July. And then Creasy in the 3rd spot, now in the barn of Tom Morley, off an effort last time that, again, I'm hoping we can draw a line through for a little further down the page. There are plenty that fit in nicely with this bunch, and we're getting 15-1 on a horse that I think can be a player off the claim. In the 10th, the Otto, 3-2, 5-4.
And the 11th finale, approximately 6:47 this evening. State Breds in for Maiden Claimer 40, 1 16th on the inner.
I have 7 horses at the top of my page. One of those is an AE, so I give myself a break there. But I'm 5, 8, 12, and 15. I put Tackle on top. Made special weight to Maiden Claimer. First start of the season, moves into the Mike Maker barn, attracts Irod Ortiz. Fast Gordon in the 2nd spot off a couple of decent tries, including the nice near miss when dropped at this level here earlier in the meet. And number 12, Brennan's War. A little bit more lightly raced than the top two picks. And maybe some more upside potential than those, and should be a player as well. 5, 8, 12, and 15.
I'll just touch on my top pick, number 1, 8 weeks long. Mark Henning having a very nice second half to the meet. Flavian Prat takes the mount on the veteran of the group. I touched on this point the other day on Wednesday. That another thing that I like to keep. Often you hear people who do what we do, they'll say like the new face in the group. So years ago I started the most veteran in the group, the maiden claiming races, and see how they do. For me, always as a function of price, and it works out pretty well. I'm 195 in the finale.
All right, I guess why don't we wrap it up and go to the play of the day. I think Anthony Seville has a little tape piece here, so we'll wrap it up and send it to the DePaula play of the day. And when we come back, Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Albany County, an incredible destination to live, work, and play, with easy connections to more than a dozen cities from our vibrant modern airport. It's a short trip downtown to a hive of culture and amusement, from world-class shows at the newly renovated Times Union Center to reliving the past at the New York State Museum. From outdoor recreation to shopping to nightlife, Albany County has something for everyone. We'll see you soon.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone
Capital region has some of the most sophisticated horse racing fans in the country. That's why Capital OTB built the Clubhouse Racebook. Here you can wager year-round on the best horse racing from around the world. The Clubhouse also has monthly promotions including live bankrolls, handicapping contests, and so much more. Like sports? Watch your favorite teams on more than 30 screens in Legends Field Sports Grill. Food, sports, and the excitement of championship horse racing. Only at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
At DePaula, we think of our customers as family, so we want your experience to be fair and easy. Family owned since 1980, DePaula means quality and convenience, along with concerned and certified technicians. So come join the family and thank DePaula for all your automotive needs. At DePaula, we think of our customers as family, so we want your experience to be fair and easy. Over $2 million in original factory parts means you receive the very best for any make or model. So come join the family and thank DePaula for all your automotive needs.
It's post time for today's DePaula Play of the Day.
Big A, Anthony Stabile here with the DePaula Play of the Day. Before we get into the play, I would love to thank everyone for reaching out for all the well wishes. Came up positive for COVID, tested negative for COVID, going for the tiebreaker test this morning. Wish me luck. Hopefully things turn out well. Let's try and make some money, though. Listen, if I'm going to be stuck in the house for Travers Day, would like to make some money. Let's start it today. DePaula Play today, race number 5. I'm not normally a turf sprint guy, but Body Movin', great name, by the way, my man Jeremiah Engelhardt, the number 5 in race 5, Body Movin', I think needed her first race. And based on that, back at the 5.5, I like that for the young horses. I even like it for the older horses. She's a 3-year-old. I like coming back at the 5.5 and not stretching out right away. So 2 races at the 5.5 now. I think she'll be much better second time out. Gets a rider change too. Leading rider Louis Sayez. Body Moving, race 5. DePaula Play of the Day. Thanks again to everybody. We'll see you back at Saratoga real soon.
You've been watching the Handicappers Report. The Handicappers Report has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. The new Capital OTB wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with the new Capital OTB wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.